and just go towards the lean or whatever? Because, I mean, we're not really going to be making the picture.
What up, what up? It's your boy DJ Naeem. I want to give a huge shout out. Going out to my Jersey boys, breaking down these UFC cards, baby. Let's go.
Got a little mama and she chillin' by the poolside. Fashion over drip, body done with a hair tie. Ex keep calling to that boy, he need to sit back. You don't got a bag, you can never get your chick back. Broke boys, we don't like them. Bad, 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 yeah, we pipe them. And I need some big money with some hype fans. Said I need some big money with some hype fans. Broke boys, we don't like them. Bad, 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 yeah, we pipe them. And I need some big money with some hype fans. Said I need some big money with some hype fans.
Check it. When I'm in Vegas, bring the drops out. Yeah. When I'm in Miami, bring the yachts out. Water, water.
This is the Jersey Boys podcast. We're here to break down UFC Fight Night, Holloway versus Kattar. My name's Steve Ricciardi. With me is Jiu-Jitsu Drew. What's up, my brother?
My boy, I just tweeted us out again right now. We are live, folks. So excited for 2021. 2020, we ended great with amazing fights. And we're about to open up with amazing fights and great cards literally back to back to back. So I'm like giddy with excitement right now.
Yeah, this is a big week. This is a real big week, and it's exciting. So again, we're going to talk about maybe 6 or 7 fights, and we're not going to break down the whole card. But there's a couple things that we want to do. I think the channel is going to look a little bit different. All right, we're committing. Let me turn my phone off. These you keep tweeting, and then I get the notifications on my phone. You know what I mean? So I gotta shut that down. We're gonna try to commit to doing the show every week. Although I coach high school basketball, and basketball practice just started today. Drew is working, baby at home, training. So as you can tell from the promo, the intro, he's looking to get back on the mat real soon.
Very soon.
And as you can see from some of the pictures, I actually just reached out to Lou Nelia today from Ring of Combat to see if they have anything scheduled, because we'd love to get down there for another event. Always fun to go down to Atlantic City and cover those events. So hopefully we can get back to the cage and doing some of the journalism part of this game.
Yeah, man, that was exciting with the fights that we watched. I mean, that's pretty much what inspired us to do this whole thing, actually. Yeah. So, I mean, man, let's just get into it. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. So let me introduce a couple of things. The first thing is we're an affiliate of Madlab MMA. So again,
shout out
Madlab. Yeah, shout out Madlab. He was on a couple of the shows in 2020. He has his own site now, so we're in affiliates with him. You'll see us tweeting out a lot of his stuff. Again, if anybody wants to sign up, now is the time to do it, especially this month. MadlabMMA.com. Use code JerseyMMA and you get 40% off this month. So this is a great month to do that, right? We got 3 cards next week. You might as well wait until Friday and get your sub. Just sub right there, Jersey MMA, 40% off. I mean, there's not a better deal going right now. And again, with all the contests and everything that's going on, great time to do it. And again, you can follow myself, you can follow Drew, and these are our 2 Jersey Boys Twitter accounts. All right. So we're live right now on Twitter, Periscope, which I think is going back to Twitter. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live on our website, which I'm going to build out the website a little bit more as Drew and I do some more interviews. And let's get into this card, Drew. I'm going to start with a fight. I'm going to throw it to you first because I know you tweeted me a little bit today, and we kind of have the same take. And I had this take about a week and a half ago because I already put the bet in. But we're going to start with Justin Tafa and Carlos Felipe. And Justin Tafa's 4-1. He's a heavyweight out of Australia. Carlos Felipe is 9-1, heavyweight out of Brazil. Tafa is a big hitter. And again, hasn't left the second round yet, right? So he's had 5 fights, I believe 2 in the UFC. He was upset in what was that fight? That was against of course I have it written down here. I can't find it. Against Jorgen De Castro, right? He lost to Jorgen.
Oh yeah, yep.
Who Carlos Felipe just beat, which is why obviously they matched these guys up. So Drew, what do you think here? What's your lean? Well, I have the same lean, so go ahead, introduce the people to it.
All right. So here we have Justin Tafa, and obviously we have Carlos Felipe. Now, the interesting thing is that between both these guys, they both fought Jorgen, right? And they both had different outcomes. Now, Justin Tafa was looking good in that fight against Jorgen. The only thing that I think lacked in that fight was his experience. Obviously, it was his first big fight in the UFC, and he seemed to be lunging in a lot of his shots and not really staying composed because he does have good boxing. But I think he was just a little bit excited, and that got to him. And it ended up to him getting, pretty much put out really in a magnificent fashion, pretty much, if you will. Because Jorgen, with that punch, he literally walked off. And then Carlos Felipe, it's all about volume for him, man. It's a lot of volume. And the shit talking that he does, excuse my language, is almost like to bait you into a brawl and create volume and create chaos. And in this fight, you have two heavyweights who are the same height, pretty much the same reach. 4-1 for Justin Tafa, Carlos Felipe 9-1, but in the UFC, pretty much have the same experience. But Carlos Felipe in this fight, if he doesn't catch Tafa, because Tafa can take a punch, he can take some punishment. They both have good chins, but we've seen him get put out. Carlos Felipe, he was actually an underdog against Jorgen, and Jorgen, I think we actually lost money that fight because I remember we bet on Jorgen that fight, and Carlos Felipe shocked everybody with volume. He just brought it. He ate a lot of the shots that Jorgen threw at him, and just walked through them. And I think he won unanimous decision that fight. So that says a lot right there. I feel like this fight, Carlos Felipe isn't really going to land anything. He throws hard, but he isn't going to land anything to make Justin, worry about getting knocked out unless he lunges again like he did. Because I feel like this fight, Justin will be more disciplined with his striking. But in the end, Carlos Felipe will get the better of him, and I think he wins by unanimous decision again. And that's where I'm leaning.
All right, because I keyed this up for you. Let me see if I can get this up here for you now. Felipe wins by KO TKO is plus 200. Because you had messaged me that earlier. That's why I was getting that ready while you were talking there.
No. Well, I mean, listen, like I said, because Justin Tafa has been blanked, he has been put to sleep. That's why I messaged you KO TKO decision. But if you really look at it, the one that was in bold was that decision. The KO TKO is there, no doubt, because it can happen. But I feel like, Justin has learned, and Justin will come in more prepared. Although his camp for this fight has been very, how can I say, restricted because of COVID and everything like that. So he's really literally training in a garage right now with family members. Now his family members are world-class fighters, so that's good, and that's almost like an advantage to him. But Carlos Felipe is a gamer from Brazil, pretty much brings it, and that's why I feel like he's going to win this fight. He can knock him out because he throws wild haymakers. Yeah, he does. But it's just the volume for me here. You know what I'm saying? Like Justin Tafa is I feel like a sniper. If he catches you, he will put you to sleep. But Carlos Felipe here, I feel like he can, has good head movement, and for a dude who's really big, can really move. So that's good.
Well, I tell you what, I think there's only one thing that you mentioned that I disagree with, and it's a take that I have, but I think Tafa has a weak chin. I don't know if he can take big punches. And I'll tell you why, because again, against Juan Adams really didn't, he didn't do anything to him.
No.
But De Castro, the one time De Castro hit him on the chin, he was out. I mean, he face planted. And I'm not saying it wasn't a great shot. I mean, De Castro hit him with a great shot. But Tafa also he's kind of disrespectful to his opponents, right? He rushes in, and when he rushes in, his chin is just there to be hit. And De Castro caught him. So not for nothing, but Juan Adams, I mean, I think Tafa threw three right hooks. I wrote it down, but it was the same punch like 3 times. But he caught him, right? He caught Juan Adams with the same punch, that right hook, 3 times. And eventually I think he finished him with the uppercut. But I mean, the right hook is the one that did all the damage, the right hooks. I think Felipe is kind of disrespectful too. He doesn't rush in, but he kind of like, shows you the back of his hands, like, come on, he calls you on.
Yeah.
And I love that about him. I think he's the one with the chin in this fight. So I think I'm going Carlos over Justin. I did already bet it. This is the one that I bet like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I think it was.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet him. I bet him early. I don't like the line, so I don't blame anybody not playing it at -190. This is the only bet I have as of right now. Again, you know how we bet. We're gonna have multiple bets by the time this card starts. On Saturday. But this is my only bet right now. Philippe, again, the one thing about Tafa, he has those leg kicks. But remember, if you look at the Castro fight, right, when he walked across the cage right as it started, he walked across the cage like faking like fake blocking leg kicks as he walked across the cage, like he was expecting the Castro to throw those leg kicks. So I think he's going to be able to check those leg kicks. He does get hit; they're both hittable. I just think Philippe is more of a fighter, and again, he's only been in the second round once. I don't know. I think this is Philippe's fight to win. So we've talked about this fight way too long, Drew. Let's get on to the next fight.
Dude, we're excited. We're excited.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I was listening to a couple podcasts, and I really like Anik and Florian. And Anik brought up a great point on the podcast. He's like, imagine if they gave like a 2-month break between the last UFC card and the next one, right? Like most major sports do. They take like a few months off. If you gave a 2-month break to UFC fans, like we would be going nuts.
Absolutely nuts.
Absolutely nuts. And imagine if they started that card with a pay-per-view like Conor and Dustin after a 2-month break. You want to break UFC pay-per-view records? That's what they do next year. I don't
take all my money.
Any ideas? Because I don't want a 2-month break. I'm not saying that, but that
take all my money.
Yeah. So that's it. All right, let's get into, and we're gonna skip around. We're really only gonna do more or less the main card. But I'm gonna throw this to you, Drew, because this is our Jersey boy, Phil Hawes. So we got Phil Hawes, and again, apologize. I'm probably gonna say his name wrong. I don't speak French, but Nasruddin Imavov. Imavov. All right. So I'm gonna let you break this down.
I think so.
Imavov. I mean, that's not French, but I think that's the French flag. Phil Hawes is 9-2. Nasruddin is 9-2 also. Phil Hawes is from Jersey, I believe. Little Ferry, isn't he from like a wrestler from Little Ferry? I believe
somewhere out there. Yeah.
Right. I'm not really sure. I don't think he trains in Jersey though. I don't know that off the top of my head. But Drew, Hawes is the favorite right now. What do you think about this fight here? You got any plays on this?
Well, to keep it simple, right? Short and simple. Nasruddin is the more well-rounded fighter here. He has the better grappling. He has the better striking in a sense, and he has almost like he is what you would call the better MMA fighter here, right? Phil Hawes, I feel like he's the favorite in this fight only because of his last performance when he blanked somebody in 18 seconds. And that person that he blanked was somebody who was deemed to be a very good jiu-jitsu fighter, deemed to be somebody who Phil Hawes was going to have a very tough time with. And Phil Hawes came in there and blanked him literally in 18 seconds. So if anything, I feel like the money's coming in leaning more on Phil Hawes' power and less on his actual MMA, skill and weapons. Because in this sense, we all know what Phil Hawes is going to do. I mean, he's going to come in here, try to knock your head off. Yeah, he can wrestle. Yeah, he can defend himself well against a takedown. But Imavov is more around everywhere pretty much. So in this sense, I feel like if Nasruddin can stay away from the bombs, which is pretty much what Phil Hawes is going to be banking on, because I don't see Phil Hawes taking this to the ground and trying to grapple with Nasruddin, because Nasruddin is actually better in that department when it comes to finishing on the ground. So if Nasruddin can stay away from the bombs, I feel like he can get the dub and cruise either to a decision win or possibly even a sub.
You know what? You gave a good breakdown there, and I really don't have a great feel one way or the other, but I feel the same way. Like I wouldn't bet this fight. I feel like I want Hawes to win this fight, but I mean
he's a Jersey boy, so don't get me wrong. I want him to win, but I mean look at his typology of Nasruddin, right? he has 4 wins by submission, 3 by TKO, and 2 by decision, right? So he has more wins by submission just off that, right? He's 9-2. His last fight he won by unanimous decision, and then the fight before that he won by ground and pound. So what does that say? If he gets you to the ground, he can manhandle you on the ground, and he can control you, and he can get what he wants. Phil Hawes is 32 years old. He's just getting out. You know, he's had a bunch of tries of getting into the UFC. He finally did, and it's based off that power. So he's going to come in there and try to land that right hand, try to finish you, and try to give Dana what he wants, which is a finish. But I feel like Nasruddin, if he gets his head out of the way, this will be a good pick to go with the dog right here, if anything. I mean, he's at a plus 120, so he's not a major dog, if that says anything right there. So I feel like the reason why the money's in on Hawes is because of the power. He's a Jersey boy, so I got love for him, but I got to go with what I know, and I feel like Nasruddin is going to get it done here.
Yeah, and again, what I was going to say is I want to see Hawes be able to use his wrestling, and it worries me that I don't think he should be using his wrestling in this match.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that worries me about, going one way or the other. I think if it stays on its feet, though, I think Hawes, could do fine. I think he can, and I know he's the Russian sniper, Nasruddin, but I think that Hawes will be fine if he stays on his feet. I haven't seen enough, and I don't know enough to go one way or another or put any money on this. So I'm probably going to pass on this.
You see, but one last word on that, and I'm happy you just said what you said. Like Nasruddin, right? If I'm his coach right now, right? What am I telling him? You're not going to strike with Phil Hawes. Right. And it's not because he's not a better striker than Phil Hawes. It's because if you get touched by Phil Hawes, you're going to go to sleep. See what I'm saying? So in this sense, Nasruddin's going to probably strike to get his distance, probably bait Phil Hawes on a takedown, and then try to keep it on the mat. If it's not to ground and pound him, if it's not to wear down Phil Hawes, because, Phil Hawes is a figure. You know what I'm saying? He's an athlete. So who knows if he can make it even into, the third round if you keep him on the ground grappling. You know what I'm saying? Or even the second round. It's very tiring when you grapple and fight at the same time. MMA grappling is something that like no other. Right. So, like I said, the narrative here for me, if I'm a coach for Nasruddin, I'm telling him we're taking this to the ground and we're going to make it, just a miserable night for Phil Hawes.
Can he get it there?
I think so. I think so.
And again, that's why I'm staying away, because I'm not gonna bet against my Jersey boy. Next one up here. We kind of went back and forth a little bit with this fight on text. Soriano's 7-0. Todorovic is 10-0. Soriano is 5'11". Todorovic 6'1". So he's got a 2-inch height advantage, and a 2-inch reach advantage. Soriano is southpaw. Okay, so that presents a little bit of a difference here. Todorovic, I think we broke down his fight on Contender Series. You remember that, right? Yeah. And you know how Contender Series really builds up the fighter before the fight. And I remember watching it right before the fight and just thinking to myself, "Wow, I didn't think this guy was as good and as seasoned as their, the narrative that they presented on Contender Series." It caught my eye, and I was like, "Wow, this guy, I think he could be good." And he's 26 years old. He's got good size for him, 185 pounds. So I really like him. Now Soriano, don't get me wrong, has he's handled the guys that he's fought, that they've put in front of him. You got a guy in Todorovic who was able to ground and pound Daquan Townsend, but again, Townsend isn't very good, right? He came in on short notice. I forget who it was against short notice. Was it I forget who it was.
Wasn't it recent too? He knocked somebody out on short notice, something like that.
I think he came in on short notice. Maybe it was in this fight. Was it against Todorovic?
It could have been. It could have been.
I don't remember.
No.
I'm pretty sure he came in on short notice, right? And again, he didn't look good. But with that being said, I just believe in Todorovic, and it's not like betting. It's not like a betting thing that I just believe in a guy, and my gut tells me Todorovic. I just think he's more well-rounded, and he's going to make Soriano really, really work. And I think he can maybe gas him a little bit here. So I really like Todorovic. I think he's going to be bigger, push him up against the cage. I'm really impressed with him. I'm really impressed with Todorovic. So, Drew, what do you think here?
All right, so let's fill the people in on a little bit of how our conversation went through the text. So I was looking at Puna's tape, a couple fights and everything like that, and I was really liking everything that he did. And then, the way that he fights, the way that he's powerful, he has good stance, he has good movement, and he's very durable. He can take a shot. And his left hand, I think it's his left hand, his left hand is packed with dynamite. You know what I'm saying? So just off that, I was like, oh, wow. And Todorovic, because I remember breaking down his fight, I already thought, I was like, all right, well, I mean, if Puna can just keep it within the distance and just touch him once, I feel like, Todorovic is just going to go to sleep. But then I do a little bit more research on Todorovic and a little bit more on Puna's camp and how he's been training leading up to this fight. And then I started to lean the other way. Why? Number one, Puna hasn't fought in a while. And the whole 2020, he was injury-ridden, had concussion protocols, had to pretty much take a lot of time off because of, the type of fighter that he is. He's pretty much balls to the wall, and he throws everything, puts everything into his fights. And because of that, he's literally only been training, what you would say, 12 weeks leading up to this fight, which to some might be good because, some fighters be like, give me 8 weeks, give me 10 weeks, I'll be good. But there's been fighters who've been training the entire pandemic, the entire 2020, staying ready, waiting for a call. One of those fighters is Todorovic, who is a real life ninja. Like every time you see this guy fight, or at least every time I saw him fight, there's like a type of calmness about him that only comes from an experienced, person who's been in competition of a very long time. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt in taekwondo. So the dude has almost like Steven Thompson-like footwork where he's very, very light on his feet. And he almost bounces in there. His hands are always very low. His chin is a little high, which is a little dangerous going up against Soriano. But in the same sense, he's also very durable. Because if you saw the fight against, I think what's his name, Ash, Teddy Ash. Teddy Ash gave him everything. You know what I'm saying? Like threw everything but the kitchen sink at Toto, and pretty much Todorovic withstood it and came out with a unanimous decision and looked good doing it. You know what I'm saying? So that says it right there. Why I think this fight is favorable for Toto, because number one, Soriano, his gas tank is going to get tapped in this one, right? He's also coming into this fight with that whole mentality of like, when you've been injured and then you come back to play or something like that, like if you ever rolled an ankle or pulled your knee or whatever it is, the first time you play again, that's like a caution that you have, and it's something that can actually, hinder your performance. So in this fight, I feel like maybe that might be something that might hurt Soriano. His conditioning, if it goes into later rounds, he might want to take it to the ground. And if he takes it to the ground, he's going to go up against a jiu-jitsu black belt who's going to handle him. So again, I feel like he's going up against a better, well-rounded fighter, all in all. And that's why I don't think he gets his dub. It's going to be probably a really, really exciting fight because I think they're both durable fighters. But in the end, I think the gas tank won't be enough for Soriano, and our boy Dusko gets it done.
Well, and again, if you wanna find out what kind of a fighter he is, Toto, as you call him, which I like that. That's what we're gonna be calling him on Saturday. Just go back to that Contender Series, and they gave a little narrative, and then they listen. They allow him to talk, and he talked about after he won the fight, he was talking about his life and just he is fighting, like he's a fighter. He wants to fight. MMA, I want to get into the ring, and that's what you said, right? That calming. He gets in the ring, he's very calm because he's prepared, and he knows he's prepared, and he's ready to do his thing. And I keep watching that. I'm like, wow, I really thought he was going to be the dog here, and I'm kind of disappointed that he's the favorite, because I just I don't like him that much, but I like him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Hey, and also, I don't know if you happen to see this fight, but guess who he fought back in the day and beat for the belt?
Toto?
That's right. Yeah, Toto. Michel Pereira. He beat Michel Pereira for a fight in the Serbian Fight League. And in a promotion out in Serbia, I think it was.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Drew? All right, so Drew is frozen. I'm gonna remove him. I may have to wait until he comes back right now. So we'll see if he comes back. So I'm gonna do a little promo here while we see if we get Drew back. But that is he did bring that up. I didn't even notice that on his thing that he beat Michel Pereira. That's a good win for him. So in that case, let me get back here. I think it's important right now that we talk about our affiliate, the MadlabMMA.com. All right, if you use our code JerseyMMA, very important to use our code. You get 40% off for the month. So I think this is a great month to do that. We got 3 cards next week. Great time to do that. So Drew's trying to get back in here now. Let me introduce this next fight while we wait for him to get back. And then he can talk about it like he wouldn't even hear what I said, so he can talk about it from scratch. Again, some of these fights, I try not to look at the odds until after I tape the fight. And in this one, like the last fight I mentioned, I really thought Soriano was going to be the favorite. So I was disappointed when I was on Todorovic and he was, minus 150. But in this fight, all right, Drew's back here. Drew, I'm just introducing the next fight, Buckley and Alessio. But that was a good find with Pereira. I talked about that while you were gone.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. So Buckley and Alessio, I just think the line is way too wide. I like Buckley, and I think a lot of people expect him to knock out Alessio, but Alessio has never been finished by KO TKO. Now, with that being said, if you go back to the Zach Cummings fight, Zach Cummings did floor him basically at the bell. So if you go back and you watch all 3 rounds, it's in the book as a decision. But he floored him with a left kick. Again, Zach Cummings is southpaw, Buckley's southpaw. As I'm going through the fight, because again, I didn't remember that fight. I didn't remember that he floored him at the end. So I'm going through the fight, and what do I keep knocking down? Like everybody wants to talk about the jumping spinning kick against Impa. Great, probably knockout of the year.
Good contender.
Yeah, I don't think anything else is going to wind up beating that. But for 2020, I should say. But I just feel like Buckley is going to be able to pepper Alessio's legs with that left kick. Go low into the lower half. And go right into his body with that left kick. He's southpaw. His body's going to be open. I think he's going to wind up peppering him in round 1. That's where I think the finish can come, by hurting him to the body, dropping the hands, and then getting that kick up top. Or, when the one thing about Alessio, he doesn't throw a lot of strikes. And that's where it doesn't play into Buckley's hands, right? Buckley needs to be able to counter you with his explosive outburst. He's kind of got that what's the best way to put it? He's I'll think of it later, but he's got that explosive counter punching ability. And Alessio doesn't come forward like that, right? He kind of stands his ground and just defends against the strikes and comes back with his own counter punching. Usually not as powerful unless you kind of get into the pocket with him. He tried to unload a few times on Zach Cummings, but it's just like every time Alessio throws a strike, it's like you can see it coming. Like I'm home and I can see it coming. Whereas Buckley throws a strike, it's like, oh shit, I didn't even see that one. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden he connects with you and he puts you out. So, you know what I was gonna say? He's like Yoel Romero.
Yep.
Like he can explode on you like Yoel, but it looks like Buckley has a gas tank. So that would be the major difference. But he's got that explosion to him. That's crazy. So, Drew, what do you think about this one?
So this is an interesting fight because it's almost touching on what you said, and I agree a lot with what you said. That both of these guys are counter fighters. They're counter strikers essentially. Like Buckley looks for his opening and then he explodes just like Yoel Romero, and then he throws 3, 4, 5 punches, maybe throws in a kick if he can, and a knee or whatever. Like he comes at you like a bat out of hell. And then you have Alessio, who's more reserved. I actually wrote it in my notes too that he doesn't really throw a lot of combinations. It's a lot of single strikes. Right. Like one of his best tools is that left kick, that left body kick, which if he sets up more, I feel like he would have a lot more success with. But again, when Alessio, one thing that I noticed, whenever he got into real trouble or whenever he felt like his striking wasn't working, whatever, or if he was getting pressured mostly, he just relied on taking it to the ground with a single leg or a double leg, because his wrestling for a European is actually really, really good. You know, for someone who pretty much relies mostly on his striking in a sense, he has a sneaky wrestling. So he can get you to the ground, and in some of the fights, well, pretty much the last fight that he won, which he was getting beat up, the main reason I feel like he won was because of those takedowns, right? Because currently he's on a 3-fight losing streak, but against Marquez, against Marquez, it was a very back and forth fight. You know, they were both bloodied up, they were all beat up. But if anything, if Alessio doesn't get the takedowns that he got, I feel like Marquez beats him. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, here, the narrative for me, you know, I kind of, you know, the easy bet would be go Buckley, I guess, and hope for the knockout or something like that. But I feel like Alessio here, with the more experience in the fight game, well, in my opinion, is going to keep this, you know, relatively on the ground, if anything, and try to keep it boring, if anything. Because, I mean, you have two counter fighters. One of them pretty much telegraphs all of his punches, doesn't throw any combos, and the other one throws nothing but combos, but in spurts. And remember, Buckley is also learning on the job. You know, he's still on the rise, and on the rise on a rocket ship because of the knockout against Impa. But regardless of the fact, I mean, in the UFC, let's see, how many fights does he have in the UFC? Like 1, 2, 3. This will be his 4th. So I mean, he's learning. And he's still going, while the other guy I think has been in the UFC since like since 2016.
Yeah,
so if that's
his 8th UFC fight for Alessio. Exactly.
So if that says anything, I mean, Buckley has the experience right now with the more consistent fighting because he's been fighting more. Alessio hasn't been fighting just as much or hasn't been as active. But in this case, if Buckley wants to get out of this fight, he needs to be, you know, just be first. You know, in jiu-jitsu competition, we always have the saying, whenever you go out and fight, it's be first. And Buckley needs to be first here because he's going up against a guy who, number one, is only going to rely on the takedown if he's in trouble or, you know, as a last-minute resort. And if Buckley can touch him, I feel like he can blast him. I mean, Buckley does have power, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I usually don't stay away from fights because I like always trying to find an angle or whatever, but this one I might stay away from.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying, but Buckley's minus 265. I just don't want to pay that.
Yeah, I just
you know, I don't see the value there. And then again, can Alessio make this? You know, can he give him like a veteran? I'm not saying he's a gatekeeper or anything, but he is a UFC vet, right? And so can he give him a little bit of a vet schooling here? Keep his distance, stay away, counterpunch. I mean, you know, he's got some power, but by the same token, Buckley is so explosive, so powerful, and you're just going to see the difference in the hand speed immediately. But if one guy is coming forward and forcing it, and the other guy is kind of, you know, taking his time, taking what the defense gives him, right? To use a football term, we're all watching this football game right now. Take what the defense gives you, right? That's what they say about Tom Brady, the best quarterbacks in the league. Take what the defense gives you. They give you 5-yard out, throw the 5-yard out. We'll get the deep play at some point. If Buckley has patience, he should win this fight. But if he's kind of looking for that knockout, because that's what everyone is talking about, it's plus 110. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, he can get a little schooling from the veteran here. So I'm scared about this. This is also the kind of fight that I may stay away from on DraftKings. I created a contest and then I didn't even look at the prices yet, but you know, just too into this this tape study right now, but this is the kind of fight that worries me on DraftKings. This could be a low scoring Alessio decision win or a Buckley decision win. It just doesn't score very well.
Boring.
So, and again, remember, DraftKings has new scoring rules, so make sure I have all the rules on our website. After this, I'll tweet it out. I did some overhauls on the website right now, but let's get on to this next fight here. We got to get back to this football game after this. So I'll introduce this, Drew. Santiago Ponzinibbio. I'm probably saying it wrong because Anik and Florian. Anik was basically making fun of everybody for saying I think there's like a double B, so you got to say it a little bit different. But I'm going to say Ponzinibbio, and then the Leech. All right, Jiang Liang, and I just don't see this is the kind of fight where I don't think anybody is legitimately giving Lee a chance to win via decision, right? It would have to be like a flash knockout, and that's just something that nobody does to Ponzi. So, I think that Ponzi should run right through him. But again, the issue with Ponzi is I don't think he's been in the cage for 2 years. Injuries, he's had a blood infection. I think he had a staph infection. He's just you don't know what you're going to get from Ponzi. So I'm going to stay away from that in terms of a bet on Ponzi. I don't like the 290, but I think he will run through him. So I think the under 2.5 is the way to play this fight. I think the only way that Jiang Liang beats Ponzi is if he gets a flash knockout. And I think that Jiang gets hurt enough that Ponzi may just catch him. And then the other thing is I think Lee is a brown belt, right? And BJJ.
The Leech.
Ponzi, he trains at ATT and Team Nogueira. I think he could also have his way with him on the ground. Neil Magny took him down, I believe, 4 times, the Leech, in their fight. So if it gets to the ground, I think Ponzi can show off and kind of style on him on the ground. But so, I'm picking Ponzi to win this fight. I don't like the line. I kind of like the under 2.5. Drew, what do you think here?
All right. So I'm just gonna put it in terms like this. So whenever you come, like let's say we both played ball, right? So whenever you had an injury and you were off for a while, right? And then you start coming back and you start to practice, even if you feel good in practice, right? Like you, for instance, you were a shooter, you hit 2 or 3 shots in practice, and this is coming off an injury, right? And then you get in the game and all of a sudden you miss all the shots that you thought you were making. And it's just like that rust. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you ever experienced that because you were a complete sniper, but like me, whenever I came back off an injury, it wasn't so hot for me, so I experienced that rust. So Ponzi for me here, I feel like if there's one dog on the entire card that might steal one that night, it might be Lee, the Leech. And the reason I say that and the narrative that I'm going with is because Ponzi just hasn't been in the ring enough, man. It's been a while since he's been in the ring, and that ring rust and that timing. And then not only that, having to deal with someone like Jiang Liang, who pretty much just wears on you, and he's very, very durable. So yeah, Ponzi can land some punches. Ponzi has good combinations. He's very fast. He has fast hands, probably the fastest hands in the UFC. But he can be touched up, it's not like he can't. And at the end of the day, Lee, the reason why everyone wants to flash knockouts is because of the way that, I forget who it was, Alessio, that he blasted. Let me look at his name right here. I just had it up. I was just watching the tape too. He catches him with a straight right that pretty much Zaleski, that pretty much almost puts him out, and Zaleski and pretty much Zaleski makes it out of the round. So here, for me, Lee just has to make it a fight that's so ugly, that's try to take him down, try to catch him obviously with that right hand that's powerful and dynamite. But if he makes it ugly, takes him to the ground, grinds him out, possibly uses a little bit of jiu-jitsu to put him in submission attempts. Because remember, you did say it, Ponzinibbio can get out of can grapple, and he possibly can hold his own against the Leech's jiu-jitsu, because he is a brown belt. He's not a black belt, so nothing to take away from anybody or anybody's jiu-jitsu, but just getting out of submissions, 3, 4, 5 times, that's going to wear on you, you know? And I feel like Ponzinibbio, although he might come out like lightning, he's probably not going to, you know, he's probably not going to hold up too long in that fight. So I feel like if this goes on into the 3rd round, and Lee can at least steal 1 or 2 rounds, I feel like, you know, Lee gets some takedowns, Lee wears on him, throws some subs at him, and catches him with a couple of his punches. I feel like Lee can sneak away with a decision win here, man. I don't say he's going to finish Ponzi, because you're right, Ponzi's very durable, and he's an athlete. But it's just he hasn't been in the ring long enough, man. And this guy and Lee's last fight was in 2019. No, I'm sorry, was in 2020, where he lost a decision to Neil Magny. Now, Neil Magny is on a complete, you know, rise right now and a resurgence in his career and looking sharp. So, I mean, there's no fault there. But Lee pretty much lasted a lot of shots that Magny was throwing at him and blasted him. So if that doesn't say anything about his durability in that aspect, I mean, I feel like he's going to be able to withstand anything that Ponzinibbio is going to throw at him, and just make it a bad fight for Ponzinibbio's gas tank. And that's where I feel like he gets the edge. And that's where I feel like he wins. Remember, we've seen -500s lose. So I don't think a 290 is going to scare me either.
No, I mean, listen, stick with your call, but we're head to head there. I think Ponzi is going to run through him personally. I think Ponzi's hungry. I think he is pissed off about the time that he was away. Maybe he makes a mistake because of that. Maybe there is ring rust. You know, some people believe in that.
Adrenaline dumps are real, my friend. Adrenaline dumps are real.
No, I get it. So let's get into talking about, you know, some vets here. We got Carlos Condit and Matt Brown. And I'll be honest with you, this is another fight where I feel like I was a little surprised when I saw who the favorite was. So I'm going to throw it to you and let you start this one because I started the last one. But I was surprised that Carlos Condit, well, and I think he's -170. Let me update that right now because I'm talking -160. He's -170 in 1 or 2 places, but -160 on 5 dimes. So what do you think here, Drew? Carlos Condit, Matt Brown. I think Condit's 36. Matt Brown is 40 years old. If the information is correct that I'm looking at right now. I also believe that Matt Brown, Carlos Condit, I should say, has a little bit of a height advantage and a reach advantage. Let me look at that real quick. 2-inch height advantage. They have the same reach. So Condit's 2 inches taller. They both have 75-inch reach advantage. I was listening to Anakin Florian, as I mentioned a few times here. We got to have Ian Parker back on the podcast. He comes on every once in a while. And I forget who said it on the podcast, but I think Condit and Matt Brown account for like a 92 and a 93% finish rate in their fights. Yeah. So you're averaging 2 guys that find it, you know, that just 9 times out of 10 when they win, they finish the fight. So I absolutely love this fight to finish. That would be my play here. But go ahead, Drew. What do you think?
I just hope they don't get hurt. That's pretty much all, man. These guys are old, man. I mean, look at their records: 31-13 and 22-17. And the reason why I feel like Carlos Condit would be the favorite here is because of that. He has slightly better hands in here, and Matt Brown, to get his tools going, he has to close the distance. And Matt Brown, he's known for his elbows, he's known for his clinch, and he's known for taking people down and ground and pounding them and being vicious. But Matt Brown, as of late, as we've been seeing with most vets lately, his jaw is, his chin isn't as hot as it used to be. The reason why they have such a high finish rate, in my opinion, is because of their durability, throughout their career. These guys have been in firefights, and they're always in firefights, and they're always in, winning by spectacular fashion, knockouts, flash knockouts, and, putting people out. That's what they're known for. I mean, you have one guy called the Natural Born Killer, the other guy, Matt Brown, the Immortal. So, I mean, if that doesn't say anything in itself, but here, the edge is going to go here because Matt Brown, his chin isn't holding up. And Carlos Condit, he's going to keep Matt Brown at a distance, because I feel like Matt Brown is going to have to take Carlos Condit down to try to make this fight, favorable and to try not to get knocked out, and get the dub. But Carlos Condit, he's going to keep him away with his jab and keep the distance, because in I think it was his last fight, he fought somebody who was a good wrestler in himself too, who was the guy's game plan was to take him down and pretty much make Condit's night miserable. And Condit blasted him and just kept him at a distance. And I think that was Court McGee.
Court McGee, yeah.
Yeah, Court McGee. So that right there just to me says it all. I mean, this fight is almost, predictable. They're both going to go for the finish. They're both going to look for the finish. These are both UFC legends, I guess you could say. And it's an exciting fight to watch, especially because they're both going to do the same thing. Now, Carlos Condit does struggle a little bit against grapplers, which is why I say that Matt Brown is probably going to want to go that route, take him to the ground and try to make him miserable. But like I said, Carlos Condit knows how to deal with grapplers and has had a very, very long rap sheet of experience of dealing with grapplers. So I don't think that this fight is even going to touch the ground. And if it does, it'll be because somebody gets knocked out. And that's my take.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Najee Harris and Devontae Smith are just going back and forth, scoring touchdowns. Smith just scored his third, and Harris already has 2. So I'm just glad I hit that Harris first touchdown tonight. He came through. Some more bankroll for my UFC events next week, but this national championship game is pretty good. I'm sorry, I'm watching while we talk. But I tell you what, man, there's 2 things. I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I think it could go one of 2 ways. I just think this fight is going to finish, and it's not getting out of the second round. I don't think we see a third round here.
Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised with the line, Drew. I'm going to give you 2 lines that I see right here. Under 2.5 rounds is minus 105. Under 1.5 rounds is plus 170. I really like under 2.5 rounds, but I even like under 1.5 rounds. If you look at Carlos Condit, the way that he came out Matt Brown, the way that he came out in his last fight against Miguel Baeza, who I think that kid is an up and coming prospect with his BJJ and everything else. But he gave Baeza a hell of a first round. I mean, he almost finished Baeza in round 1. He had him hurt. He had him stumbling. Basically sat him down in round 1. Like Matt Brown, he put the punches where he needed to finish the fight, which is why this fight is going to end. I don't think we're going to see a third round, because Matt Brown is going to come out to finish the fight, and he's either going to finish Carlos Condit in round 1, which again, I wouldn't have a problem betting that, to be honest with you. Matt Brown wins in round 1 is plus 575. That's what I think is going to happen, and I think he's going to knock him out. On DraftKings, on FanDuel, you know that we can take Brown round 1 by KO TKO. I don't know what that number is. I don't think it's out yet. But if he's round 1 plus 575, you may be able to get him round 1 KO TKO for like plus 650. That's a hell of a number. And I do think that Matt Brown fights here and walks away after this. So, that's a difficult.
Matt Brown by KO TKO right now is at plus 950 in round 1.
Is that the number? See, I like that, bro. I really like that. I gotta bet that. Half a unit. I gotta bet that. That's my gut feeling on this fight. So I love the under 2.5. I actually like the under 1.5 at plus 170, and I love Matt Brown in round 1. Like that's I'm feeling Matt Brown here. I thought this fight would be lined closer, more like a pick'em. So I was surprised to see the plus money on Matt Brown, but I like it, man. You want to do the honors on the main event? What do you want to do?
Oh my God, to be blessed. I mean, you can go ahead, man. You can go ahead. So, to be blessed.
Some people may not know, but the 2 fighters that I love watching are basically fighting this week, and it's Max Holloway and Conor McGregor. I love when 2 guys are going to go in there. Drew is more of the guy that likes the BJJ. He likes the, getting down to the ground and just, strangling somebody out. I get that. And I don't dislike it. but I really like two guys that are going to strike. And I know Calvin Kattar and Max Holloway are going to strike.
Oh, yes.
The first thing that I'm going to do is my cash lineup this week, 100% will be a stack. I will have Kattar and Max Holloway in that stack. So again, I sent you a couple guys put some stuff out on Twitter, and I want to give you some stats here because I don't think either guy is I hear some people talking about Kattar maybe knocking out Max Holloway. Max Holloway, and I sent it to you this week, so I want to read the exact stat. And at JerseyMMA, so Dovey on Twitter, in 5 hours and 35 minutes of fight time and over 1,000 strikes absorbed, Max Holloway has never been knocked down. I'm not even talking about knocked out. I'm talking about knocked down. That's a crazy stat. You know what I mean? And then the other one by MMA by the Numbers, which most people, I mean, he's a must follow on Twitter. If you're not following MMA at Numbers MMA, average significant strikes landed per fight. Holloway, 94.5. Kattar, 60.5. All right. Average significant strikes absorbed. Holloway is absorbing 66. Kattar is absorbing 68. Now, again, I think that's a little skewed for a few reasons. You know, if you go back through the fights, and again, I'm a big fan of Calvin Kattar also. I was cage side at Madison Square Garden when I covered the event at Madison Square Garden when Calvin Kattar fought Renato Moicano, which I thought the world of Renato Moicano after that fight. So I'm a little surprised to see, some of his losses and him getting finished in some of his fights after. But I was cage side for that, and that was, Moicano put a clinic on Calvin Kattar, and I didn't think that could happen after what I saw with Kattar and Shane Burgos, because I think Burgos is a high level striker, but Kattar was right there. So again, he comes out of the Boston area, cartel. Right.
Yeah, the New England cartel. Yep.
Yeah, he's got some tough hats going on Instagram right now. I saw them. I think that Calvin Kattar is legit. There's nothing that tells me he isn't legit. I just think that Max Holloway is going to be able to outclass him. Again, Max is still only 29. He's 29 years old. Kattar's 32.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, and again, this is going to be a great striking match. I just think that Max's pressure and constantly being, in your face is why this is the main event to be on ABC, right? The first main event, the first UFC card on ABC. And I think that's why, because Max Holloway, represents the brand. Calvin Kattar from Boston represents the brand. It's going to be a great striking fight. Everybody that watches this fight, this is why this is the main event on ABC. This is the reason this card is, because you're gonna see some strikers, right? A lot of these guys in this main card, I think they're just gonna strike, and that's what people understand. I don't think everybody, UFC fans understand the BJJ, but the casual fan doesn't get it, doesn't really respect it. They're just wrestling. This is boring. But the striking, I think you got a main event here where there's going to be a lot of striking. I also think that's why Carlos Condit and Matt Brown got moved to the main event. Personally, I think that all these fights in the main event are basically going to be striking fights on this main card. So I think it's a perfect card to go to ABC. But I love Max. I haven't bet it yet. But I'm probably gonna look for the best line on Max. I think that this goes the distance. So I think there's gonna be a 5-round, or maybe Max gets a late finish. If he has like a 4th round, like he did against Brian Ortega, which is really where I made a ton of money on Max in that fight. If he has a 4th round like that, he could finish the fight, or a 5th round like that. But I think he's just gonna wear on him. And I'm on Max Holloway here, so that's my pick. So what do you think here, Drew?
I feel like if there is going to be a finish in this fight, it's probably going to come from Calvin. And that's only because of the power in his hands, right? And Max Holloway, I don't think that he's going through what a lot of the older vets are going through right now, like with like Anderson Silva and Aldo, how they're like trying to fight time and trying to come back. And even Aldo, who's still relatively young. But these guys, Holloway, Aldo, these guys in fight years, they are old as heck, man. They've been through a lot of fights. I mean, your stat alone just gives you on how many miles Max Holloway has on his body. You know what I'm saying? So in this fight, if anything, this fight will go the distance. And it's only because Max is somebody who knows how to take punches, knows how to roll with the punches, and he probably won't be knocked out. But if the only way this fight finishes is if Calvin catches him, because Calvin does have great boxing. Don't get me wrong. He, every fighter likes to say that they evolve with every fight, and I feel like Calvin has been evolving every single fight and every single time that we have seen him. He just looks better and better. His hands look better and better. They look sharper. They look stronger. It looks like he has more power all of a sudden, which is why so many people are saying that he's going to knock him out. And I feel like the reason why they're saying that about Max is because Max has been on a slide. He hasn't really won a lot of the fights in the fashion that he's known to winning. Beating people up, leaving them bloodied, and everything like that. Like, he throws volume at you. Don't get me wrong, but just the old Max blessed Holloway that we're used to seeing just was on a kind of a decline. And Calvin, who's kind of on the up right now with knocking people out and looking good, and even calling people out. And right now the New England Cartel is hot. I mean, it makes up for a perfect matchup, and I'm just too excited. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I probably wasn't going to throw in a half the unit maybe on Kattar win by KO, or a double chance on FanDuel, KO or points or something like that. But who knows, man? Max Holloway with the type of volume that he throws at you, it's kind of hard to pick against him in a lot of fights, in almost every fight. But like we've seen before, when I thought, was it his last fight when I thought he won and he got robbed, whatever it is? Yeah, his second time against Volkanovski, he looked amazing. He looked amazing. Like, you could have bet your house on it and you were positive you're going to make money back the way he fought that fight. But somehow he lost. So, I mean, Max is probably thinking he has to get a finish and he doesn't want to take it to the judges, which is why I feel like he has to kind of dodge a lot of landmines here, because he's going to leave himself exposed in a lot of areas because of that. Because he knows that if he takes it to a decision, he might not get the favorite, the nod. So it's a tricky fight to pick. Nonetheless, I'm excited. But there's no real way to lean here. I'm just going to sit back and watch this masterpiece, honestly.
Yeah, the cartel is hot, man. With you got Rob Font,
Mm-hmm.
and you got Calvin Kattar here, so they're hot. They got guys winning, but yeah, Max is my guy here. So Drew, we went almost an hour here. Again, we broke down 6 fights, and again, we pride ourselves on being out early in the week. So that's why we're going to try to get this done like Sunday night, Monday, or Tuesday. Depends on Drew's work schedule. Again, I coach high school basketball, so that's a little bit, I got home about 7:45, jumped on here, did a little bit of stuff with the website, hit him up, hit my first touchdown, prop bet tonight, and I was all happy for this. I'm not always this happy, but I'm very happy tonight. That's my bankroll. So we try to get out early in the week. So we're probably not going to break down full cards. Because of that, we're going to take our time with the cards. But later in the week, if anybody wants any information, hit us up on Twitter. It's coming across the bottom line right there. And then the other thing too, in terms of our banner, we're very proud to be an affiliate of the MadlabMMA.com.
Shout out Madlab.
Shout out Madlab, Jersey guy. He's out in Cali now, but he gave us a code JerseyMMA that'll get you 40% off for the month. So take advantage of that. I mean, you got a ton of cards this month. You got 3 this week. Sign up on Friday, maximize that, and use that code JerseyMMA to get yourself 40% off. Follow Drew, follow myself. We Jersey Boys have 2 Twitter accounts right now. Hopefully, we're able to kind of go live with some interviews and get to some events as they happen. We usually get to them in Atlantic City, but Jersey is just with COVID right now. It's just crazy. So, Drew, I'm going to put out the intro music is going to be the outro music. I'm going to put that out. Good luck this weekend and hit us up.
What up, what up? It's your boy DJ Naeem. I want to give a huge shout out. Going out to my Jersey boys, breaking down these UFC cards, baby. Let's go.
Got a little mama and she chillin' by the poolside. Fashion over drip, body done with a hair tie. Ex keep calling to that boy, he need to sit back. You don't got a bag, you can never get your chick back. Broke boys, we don't like them. Bad, yeah, we pipe them. And I need some big money with some hype fans. Said I need some big money with some hype fans. Broke boys, we don't like them. Bad, yeah, we pipe them. And I need some big money with some hype fans. Said I need some big money with some hype fans.
Check it. When I'm in Vegas, bring the drops out. Yeah. When I'm in Miami, bring the yachts out. Water.